Welcome to a special edition of TYT Sports, everybody. The winners and losers game. This is an idea conceived of by Cenk Uygur, whereas if not everyone, then most people in sports can be separated into either winners or losers. It is a ridiculous proposition. It can't be defended, but it is a tremendous amount of fun.
It's a classic example is Peyton Manning. Now, it's a bizarre example, a lot of people think, because he's already won a Super Bowl. But he's the perfect example because it's not a matter of how much talent you have. It doesn't mean the guy with the most amount of talent. Peyton Manning has tremendous talent. Is probably the best regular season quarterback of all time. And I think that, right?
The Super Bowl's in the postseason, though, right?
Right,
okay.
Exactly. You got it right, Michael. Okay, you belong in TYT Sports. But the thing is, he does so little with it in the playoffs because he chokes. And I remember, in one of the early Patriot playoff games, he's got happy feet, and he starts doing this, and he's like, well, see, he throws it in the ground. I'm like, wait a minute, this guy's a 10 times better quarterback in the regular season than he is in the postseason. That's because Peyton Manning's a loser.
Okay, all right. Well, let's get to Peyton Manning. So you're going to maintain that Peyton Manning, while being the greatest regular season quarterback ever, is a loser.
Yes, that's right. Okay, and it doesn't mean winning regular season games. LeBron wins all the regular season games in the world, and I'm not saying LeBron's a loser. That jury's definitely out, and it needs to be made clear that actually the great majority of people are neither winners nor losers. Most of the athletes are in the middle. And how many loser coaches are there? Wayne Fonts, all that talent, all those years in Detroit. Yeah, they'd be like, wait a minute, he was 10-6, went to the playoffs. Yeah, but he sucked.
But do you have
to
win?
Loser.
Do you have to win to be a winner? That sounds ridiculous. But Jeff Fisher, longtime coach of the Titans, the Oilers, and then the Titans, never won a championship, was there, but he's still considered a great coach because he did so much with so little.
Jeff Fisher, you're going to be shocked to find out the jury's still out. No, I'll tell you why. Because Jeff Fisher's a great coach. I don't dispute that at all. But at clutch times, he makes bizarre decisions that wind up sometimes costing him his team. So I'm not sure about Jeff Fisher, but like Dan Marino, I don't think he's a loser. He just never had a good defense. Sometimes you're a great player and you just don't have a good defense.
Killer bees. He had defense.
This is what's so hard about this, which is why it's so quick. People are so quick to challenge you on this, I'm sure, because there's so many factors that go into it, but then it's such a simple, straightforward thing. We're saying winner or loser. So there's so many other factors that go in. Who was Peyton Manning's offensive line at the time? Who had a knee tweak? What was his center feeling like? How were his receivers reacting? Were they getting blanketed by defense?
No. So that's really interesting. Look, that seems like a good point on the surface. Okay, but here's my two issues with that. Number one, great players, winners, make the rest of their teammates better, and losers make them worse, especially if you have a bad coach.
The definition of Peyton Manning is that he made everybody on that team so much better.
In the regular season.
Pierre Garçon is about to go to the Washington Redskins. Yeah. You think that guy's going to produce with the Redskins?
No.
Inconceivable.
There's some chance that Pierre Garçon has dropped more passes than the rest of the NFL combined.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I understand, and that's why, look, Peyton, without him, they were terrible. With him, they were a great team. I'm not underestimating his talent, his accomplishments, etc. But on crunch time, sometimes his blockers, who he blames often, don't block well enough. Mm-hmm. Sometimes his receivers drop passes. I read a great book about the beginning of the NFL. It concentrated on the Steelers and the Cowboys. And Tom Landry's players would not perform as well for him as they did for Chuck Noll in Pittsburgh. Why? Tom Landry was a great coach, but they hated him, and they didn't want to perform for him. So they would be like, oh, you remember the sickest man in America when tight end for the Cowboys, Jackie Smith, dropped a ball. People will say that's a coincidence. They would have won otherwise, right? Mm-hmm. Or it could be that Jackie Smith unconsciously dropped the ball because he hated freaking Tom Landry.
So how many Super Bowls did Tom Landry win? He won in spite of the fact that his players hated him. What did he win? 2?
He won 2, I think. Yeah. And he lost so many others, and he had the best team almost every year.
But do you think that? So do you think
Tom Landry's a loser?
Juries.
There's so many qualifications that it renders
meaningless. Is every overachiever automatically a winner?
That's
what it sounds like.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, but
Jeff Garcia, is he a winner?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, he never won anything.
No, except for that problem, yes. Okay. No. But he won a lot of games. He won a lot of playoff games. See, the thing is, he overperformed, and he won games you didn't think he was going to win. Another classic example, Doug Flutie. That guy is a winner. And you know what? They didn't give him enough of a chance. I mean, eventually he was, of course, on many NFL teams and always did better than expected, always got more victories than expected.
So that goes to your theory that better than expected winner.
Yeah.
No, but you got to actually win.
Doug Flutie got plenty of opportunities. Doug Flutie not good in the NFL.
No,
Tiny
you're
little guy.
crazy. You're crazy.
And
Always
if he didn't
overperform.
throw that one pass, you would not be calling him a winner.
No, I totally disagree with that.
Gerard failing pass. Right.
No.
So the main
I
point,
totally
the
disagree
main
with that.
point you're making here is that average white guys who overachieve in sports are winners. Is that what you're saying?
No, Rondo, Terry. No, there's
What
a
about
million
Don
others.
Larson?
That's
He had
not
a
even
losing
right.
record.
We're talking about now.
Yeah.
Jeff
But I'll tell you though, Jeff Garcia, Doug Flutie, Tim Tebow, that's all because they happen to be quarterbacks, which tend to be predominantly white.
Don Larson had a losing record in his career. He pitched the most iconic game in baseball history, perfect game in the World Series, and now he's selling his uniform to fund his grandchildren's college education.
The loser.
You know what? The jury was out for a long time. They just came in. They just came in on Don Larson.
Hold on, let's do Doug Flutie just for a second. So Doug Flutie, we get his numbers in Canada were very impressive, where they're 3 downs and the field's like 200 yards long. And
Right.
It's a huge, you can run around,
It's
and being
wider.
little,
It's a wider field.
being little is not as big a deal. So when he played predominantly, say we would go to the Patriots in '88 before, 8 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Goes to the Bills, 98, 10 years after being in Canada, basically 8 or 9 years. And with the Bills, 20 touchdowns in 11, then 19-16, 8-3, and 15-18.
But stats are not as relevant. Like, so,
He throws 18 interceptions.
Look, Tim Tebow took the Broncos, and I know it was a great defense. I understand that, right? But he took them to the playoffs. He won a playoff game. He had no
They
business
went
winning.
8-8.
And he had
They
terrible
went
8
and 8. They played in a division. If they play in a division, if the Chargers aren't coached by Norv Turner, they go 7-9.
Let me ask you this.
Nobody cares about the
He
play.
has to mention Norm Turner.
No, hold
By the
on.
way, Norv Turner.
Loser. Thank you. I rest my case. I rest my case on Norv Turner
because he hasn't
alone.
won
That's
anything.
not a case. That's a North Turner.
Right. That's
we all agree on
He
that.
hasn't won anything yet.
And this is, okay, now this is where I think, because Jenkins seems to be fighting this battle alone a lot. What I think it comes down to is when you have this, your mentality comes through at the exact right time. The reason that the thing that you get on ESPN Classic about, the things that we talk about, things we talk about Joe Theismann, I'm going to guarantee this victory, and he walks out with his hand in the air just because he's like, of course.
Joe Namath.
I'm sorry, Joe Namath, yeah.
Well, you could have gone with
Theismann-
Mark Messier. Same thing. Guaranteed to.
Oh, Joe, please.
Theismann, his leg went up in the air.
The entire NHL, losers.
So it's a matter of that moment, and I thought of this because you mentioned Tim Tebow, because I'm lightening up on Tim Tebow. Yeah, he still sucks, but the thing is, everyone's still a little afraid of what he might do at that particular moment after going 8-8, after no one expecting anything from him. You're like, maybe, because he has that little.
The only person who's afraid of that is Mark Sanchez. He's the only person afraid
It's
of
a
that.
storybook ending because, and this is why it originates from Uygur. He's this guy who loves America, loves that storybook thing, and he's like, if he pulled through in the storybook ending, that it's very uncommon, you win.
No, let me ask you guys this. Kyle Orton, who is a quarterback that I actually liked. I liked him last year. I liked him at the beginning of this year. Do you think he brings the Broncos to the playoffs, and do you think he beats the Steelers in the playoffs? I think no.
I don't think he'd beat the Steelers in the playoffs, but if you want to, then we'll just get down a little bit to how that game was managed. No, because what they don't do is put all 11 guys within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage against Kyle Orton, so that play, of course, doesn't happen. And no, of course Kyle Orton doesn't go to the playoffs. But could Kyle Orton, when he lost his job and they were, 1-3 or something like that, could he have led that team to finish 8-8? Sure, it's possible.
Yeah, it's
So
possible.
Cenk, Trent Dilfer and Peyton Manning, okay? Trent Dilfer, not all the tools in the world. Peyton Manning, all the tools in the world. They've each won a Super Bowl. One of them is a loser in your book.
Yeah.
Is Trent Dilfer a winner?
No. Trent Dilfer was absolutely neutral there. He wasn't a loser. He didn't fumble it. He didn't get nervous. He didn't choke. So God bless his heart. I'd be incredibly proud if I was him the rest of my life, right? But
So he's a neutral, which is better than Peyton Manning.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So, no.
Your Honor, we rest.
No, look, if you want to get into the playoffs, you want to have a great team, I get why you pick Peyton Manning over Trent Dilfer. Of course, right? I get it. But like the game's on the line, and I think Manning's I take Eli Manning over Peyton Manning any day of the week.
Eli Manning winner.
At this point, yes. If you look now, here's a
The
fault
jury
of
with
the-
a quick verdict there.
No, but not a quick verdict. That's the interesting
Because,
part.
I mean,
If you'd
there was-
asked me 2 years ago, I would have said jury's way out on
after last
it.
year.
Now it's clear. God, beating those two mighty Patriots teams.
And it can't change at this point.
No, he's locked in. He's a winner. No.
Right, but I mean, beating
should
those
get
two
McCall.
Patriot teams. I mean, he played well in this Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl, He played okay, and he threw a big pass to Plaxico at the end. He was getting hit, and he threw a ball up in the middle of the field, which every other quarterback, when it gets picked off, you're like, he Neil O'Donnell'd it. He just chucked it up, and David Tyree caught the ball in the back of David Tyree. Hates gays. Winner.
I was just going to ask you about that.
No, one play does not make a winner, but it's actually Eli Manning being a winner that rubbed off on David Tyree that made him that catch. But here I'll actually add on to that with Roethlisberger, who drives me crazy, and he's an idiot, and then he always waits till the end of the game, and he does so many stupid things, and he's very talented, yada yada. But you know what? That dude's a winner. And you might say, okay, in the Seattle Super Bowl, he didn't do that well. His numbers weren't that great. His stats sucked, etc. Always does enough to win. The real game there was against the Colts in the playoffs before they got to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Did everything he needed to win, inclling tackling a guy after the Bettis fumble.
He was up against the loser, too. Right. The other team had Manning.
Right. Well, that's true, though.
Yeah.
I mean, those Steelers had no business beating those Colts. And Roethlisberger's a winner, and Manning's a loser, and that's why the Steelers won. That's why they got to the Super Bowl. That's why Arizona game. Oh, everything had to go right, except if things didn't go right earlier, then he would have had to try harder earlier, and he would have won anyway. Right? So now, but
they got off to, against Arizona, they got off to a really big lead in that game, and he did both. He got him off to a really big lead, and then he brought him back.
Yeah, he did. And in the middle, he pulled a Roethlisberger.
Right.
And he drives me crazy, right? And that's why they lost the last Super Bowl.
I don't think anybody's going to dispute that under any circumstance, under any dumb definition of winners and losers, Ben Roethlisberger would appear to be a
So
winner.
it would be nice to have
Unless
this
you're dating
simplistic
him.
Ronald Reagan-esque view of life and divide everything in black and white. 1 and 2 is 0 and 1.
Yeah.
Well, it
Okay,
sounds
good.
like-
Yeah, well, mission accomplished.
When you get a matchup like, say, Kobe Bryant versus LeBron James, like that's gonna be an awesome matchup. Two titans of the game, they're the best in the sport, and we can't wait to see what's gonna happen. Who's gonna come out on top? Is it just as compelling to see two losers match up against each other?
Yeah.
See who's gonna mess up first?
Yeah,
who's gonna give this
absolutely.
game away,
And
make
if they're
the loser
both
look like a winner?
and going on what JR's saying, if they're both losers and one of them wins and does well and surprises you because they both started out as losers, are they winners? Is that next one a winner?
No. So we have a perfect example of that. That's the year that the Colts won the Super Bowl. Rex Grossman, loser, versus Peyton Manning, loser. Because one loser's got to win. Now, the real thing that would disprove me is not that game, but the one earlier when the Colts beat the Patriots in that legendary AFC Championship game, right? But that's the exception that proves the rule. And here I finally figured it out, and it had been haunting me because it's my Achilles heel in my winners losers theory, right? How could Peyton Manning beat Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in a critical game to go to the Super Bowl, right? It's because they were so down in the first half, they had gotten blown out in the first half that there was no pressure left. And Manning thought, oh, we've lost. Well, then I might as well go back to being my regular awesome self, right?
Relaxed.
And he relaxed.
Right,
And then he did terrific in the second half, and they won.
Bills at home in October.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And that showed to me, actually, that if he had played like regular season Manning, he'd have like 8 Super Bowls.
But a
by now.
loser, another quarterback would have just said, all right, we're screwed already. We're down so far, forget it. That's what a loser
That's another kind of loser.
That's a different.
Yeah, that's Rex Grossman.
It's
right?
not different kind of loser.
Right, exactly. That's the Rex Grossman kind of loser. Let's just talk for a moment then about how dumb the expression, it's the exception that proves the rule is. I mean, it's just a thing to say when you've been defeated in an argument.
No, I hear you on that, and I used to think the same thing, but I've actually switched on that.
And you're a winner, so perhaps I guess I should.